The courtroom was dead silent, except for one sound: my husband's quiet chuckling. He leaned over to his lawyer, whispering just loud enough for me to catch the words. "She can't touch a penny of it. The timing's perfect." His grin stretched wider as he straightened his new designer suit, the one he'd bought with lottery money he was certain would remain his alone. The judge cleared her throat, and that smug smile never left his face. He had no idea he was about to learn the most expensive lesson of his life. If you've ever wondered what happens when arrogance meets justice, hit that like button and buckle up, because this story is about to get wild. "Your Honor," his lawyer began, chest puffed out like a peacock, "my client purchased that lottery ticket with his own money on his own time after the marriage had already deteriorated beyond repair. The timing of this windfall, coming just days before he filed for divorce, clearly demonstrates this is separate property, not subject to marital division." I watched my husband nod along, that infuriating smirk never wavering. He kept glancing at me, probably expecting tears or panic. Instead, I sat perfectly still, hands folded, watching his performance with the calm of someone who knew exactly how this play would end. His lawyer continued the theatrical display. "Furthermore, Your Honor, my client has documentation proving he intended to leave this marriage long before any lottery ticket was purchased. The timing here isn't coincidence. It's providence, giving him the means to finally escape an unhappy union. What they didn't know was that while my husband was busy dreaming about his millions, I had been having very different conversations. 3 months earlier, when his behavior started changing, the secretive phone calls, the sudden interest in personal time, the way he started hiding mail, I had quietly scheduled a consultation with the best family attorney in the state. That lawyer had asked me one crucial question: does he gamble? Buy lottery tickets? Scratch-offs? When I mentioned his weekly ritual of buying tickets at the same gas station every Thursday, her eyes lit up with a knowing gleam. "Here's what you need to understand," she had explained. "If he wins anything significant while you're married, it doesn't matter what his intentions were. The law is crystal clear about marital property." So while he was busy dreaming about his millions, I was busy documenting everything. Every lottery ticket purchase. I had photos of receipts. Every conversation where he mentioned wanting out of this marriage, I had dates and witnesses. Every penny he'd spent on what I later discovered was his mistress, I had that too, thanks to 3 months of careful financial tracking. The beautiful irony was that his own arrogance had made him sloppy. He'd started bragging to mutual friends about his exit strategy weeks before he actually won. He even joked at a barbecue about how he was playing the long game and would be financially free soon. I had 2 friends willing to testify to those exact words. My lawyer stood up, and I could see my husband's confidence falter for just a moment. She was younger than his attorney, quieter, but there was something in her posture that made the whole courtroom lean forward. "Your Honor, opposing counsel's argument rests on intent, but family law rests on facts, and the facts are simple. Mr. Richardson purchased that lottery ticket on March 15th, while legally married to my client. The divorce was not filed until March 22nd, 7 full days later. The law doesn't care about his secret plans or private intentions. It cares about the date on that ticket and the date on those divorce papers." I watched my husband shift in his seat, but his lawyer pressed on. "Your Honor, surely the court can see the inequity in forcing my client to share winnings that were clearly meant to fund his independence." "Meant to fund his independence?" My lawyer's voice cut through the courtroom like a blade. "Or meant to fund the affair he'd been conducting for 6 months?" The courtroom erupted in whispers. My husband's face went white, but his lawyer recovered quickly. "Your Honor, we object to these unfounded accusations." "Not unfounded at all." My lawyer opened a thick folder. "We have documented proof of Mr. Richardson's affair, including restaurant receipts, hotel bookings, and jewelry purchases, all made with marital funds while he was supposedly planning his escape from an unbearable marriage." I watched the color drain completely from my husband's face as the reality of his situation began to dawn on him. This wasn't the clean getaway he had imagined. This was a reckoning. Drop a comment below if you think you know where this is heading, because trust me, it gets so much better. The judge's ruling. The judge had heard enough. She removed her glasses, cleaned them slowly, and when she put them back on, her expression was granite hard. "Mr. Richardson," she began, and my husband straightened up, that confident smirk trying to return to his lips. "Do you believe that winning the lottery gives you the right to rewrite the laws of marriage?" The question hung in the air like smoke. His lawyer started to stand, but the judge held up a hand. "Let me be very clear about something. The date on your lottery ticket is March 15th. The date you filed for divorce is March 22nd. In the eyes of the law, you were married when you bought that ticket, married when you won, and married when you tried to hide it. Your intentions, your plans, your dreams of freedom, none of that changes the fundamental legal reality of your situation." The courtroom was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. Furthermore, the judge continued, her voice rising slightly, "This court has reviewed the evidence of your extramarital affair, the financial deception you engaged in, and the calculated way you attempted to time this divorce to protect assets you believed were yours alone." I watched my husband's face become completely ashen as the reality of his situation began to dawn on him. This wasn't the clean getaway he had imagined. This was a reckoning. "Mr. Richardson," the judge said, "you seem to have forgotten that marriage is a legal contract, not a convenience you can abandon the moment something better comes along. Your lottery winnings, all 4.2 million of them, are marital property subject to equitable distribution." The gavel came down like thunder. Furthermore, given the evidence of financial misconduct and marital infidelity, this court awards Mrs. Richardson 65% of all marital assets, including the lottery winnings. The remaining 35% goes to Mr. Richardson, minus attorney fees, court costs, and restitution for the marital funds he spent on his affair. The courtroom exploded. Gasps echoed from the gallery where friends and family had gathered to watch what my husband had promised would be his victory lap. Instead, they witnessed his complete financial annihilation. But the judge wasn't done. "Mr. Richardson, let this serve as a reminder that the law doesn't bend to wishful thinking. You cannot purchase a lottery ticket while married, win while married, then file for divorce and expect to keep the winnings. That's not how marriage works, that's not how divorce works, and that's certainly not how my courtroom works." The gavel followed one final time, sealing my husband's fate and his fortune. If you could bottle the exact moment someone realizes they've destroyed their own life, it would look exactly like my husband's face in that courtroom. The confident swagger was gone. The designer suit suddenly looked too big on his shrinking frame. His hands shook as he tried to process what had just happened. His lawyer, who had strutted into that courtroom like he owned it, was now fumbling through papers with the desperation of someone trying to find a loophole that didn't exist. "Your Honor, we'd like to request a recess to..." "Denied." The judge's voice was final. "This ruling is effective immediately." I watched my husband turn to look at me, and for the first time in months, I saw the real man underneath all that lottery-fueled bravado. The man who had just lost not only his jackpot dreams, but his entire future. His mouth opened and closed like he was trying to speak, but no words came out. The math was brutal and beautiful in its simplicity. From $4.2 million, he would receive 35%, roughly $1.47 million. But then came the deductions, attorney fees, court costs, and the restitution for the $78,000 he'd spent on his affair. Hotels, jewelry, fancy dinners, weekend trips, all documented, all proven, all coming out of his share. After taxes and penalties, my husband, who had walked into that courtroom thinking he was a multimillionaire, was looking at roughly $650,000. Still a significant sum, but a far cry from the set-for-life fortune he'd imagined. But the financial devastation was just the beginning of his problems. His mistress, who had been sitting in the back of the courtroom expecting to watch her sugar daddy secure his fortune, quietly slipped out during the chaos. I later heard through mutual friends that she'd blocked his number before he even made it to the parking lot. Funny how quickly love disappears when the money does. The ripple effect started immediately. The down payment he'd made on a luxury condo with lottery money, since those funds were now part of the marital assets I was entitled to, he'd either have to find another way to pay or lose the property entirely. The expensive car he'd bought, same problem. The lavish vacation he'd booked for himself and his mistress, canceled. But perhaps the most poetic justice was yet to come. Remember those friends he'd bragged to about his exit strategy? The same ones who had witnessed his cocky predictions about how he'd leave her with nothing? They all saw him walk out of that courtroom with his tail between his legs, financially broken and publicly humiliated. The local news picked up the story, not mentioning names, but everyone in our small town knew exactly who they were talking about when they reported on the lottery winner who lost big in divorce court. His story became a cautionary tale shared in coffee shops and bar stools across the county. The weeks that followed were a masterclass in how quickly fortune can turn to misfortune. His employer, a conservative family-owned business, decided that someone who publicly cheated on his wife and then tried to steal lottery winnings probably wasn't the kind of person they wanted representing their company. He was let go within a month. His family, who had initially been excited about having a lottery winner in the clan, grew distant as the full story of his affair and attempted deception came to light. His own mother called me to apologize, saying she had raised him better than that. Even his golf buddies, the ones he'd been boasting to for months about his upcoming windfall, stopped returning his calls. It's amazing how quickly friends disappear when you become a cautionary tale instead of a success story. If you're enjoying watching this karma unfold, make sure to subscribe because justice stories like this don't come around every day. Meanwhile, I was quietly rebuilding my life with the financial security I never expected to have. I paid off our house, set up college funds for our kids, and started the small business I'd always dreamed of but never had the capital to launch. The money my husband thought would buy his freedom actually bought mine. 6 months later, I ran into my ex-husband at the grocery store. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by off-the-rack basics. The swagger was gone too, replaced by the hunched posture of a man carrying the weight of his own poor choices. When he saw me, he actually tried to hide behind the cereal aisle. But I wasn't cruel. I wasn't going to gloat or rub salt in wounds that were clearly still fresh. I simply nodded politely and continued with my shopping. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well. The beautiful irony of his story was not lost on anyone who knew us. The man who thought winning the lottery was his ticket to freedom discovered that his freedom had a price tag he couldn't afford. The money he believed would let him escape his responsibilities actually created new ones. The jackpot he thought would solve all his problems became the source of his biggest nightmare. He had spent so much time planning his great escape that he forgot one crucial detail. Actions have consequences, and the law doesn't care about your dreams when you try to cheat your way to them. His lottery win, which should have been a blessing, became his curse, not because of the money itself, but because of what it revealed about his character. The millions didn't corrupt him, they just gave him the courage to show who he really was underneath. And in the end, that's exactly why he lost everything. The judge didn't take his jackpot out of spite or malice. She took it because he forgot that marriage is a partnership, not a convenience. He forgot that trust once broken can't be rebuilt with money. He forgot that the law protects people from exactly the kind of financial betrayal he had attempted. My ex-husband thought he was playing chess while I was playing checkers. What he didn't realize was that I wasn't playing games at all. I was simply following the rules while he was busy breaking them. The lottery ticket he bought with such hope became the evidence that destroyed his case. The winning numbers that seemed like divine intervention turned out to be divine justice. The jackpot that was supposed to set him free became the chain that bound him to the consequences of his choices. Today, he's working a regular job, living in a modest apartment, and probably still wondering how it all went wrong so fast. He's learned the hard way that you can't gamble your way out of your obligations and you can't buy your way out of your mistakes. As for me, I'm living proof that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just letting someone face the natural consequences of their own actions while you build a better life with the resources they thought they could steal. If this story taught you anything about karma, justice, or the importance of reading the fine print on your marriage contract, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Drop a comment below with your own story of justice served. And don't forget to like this video if you believe that what goes around comes around. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the house always wins, but sometimes the spouse wins even bigger.